And welcome to the very final episode of Campus Debates Season 2. My name is Mercy Vugutsa. I'm a debater at heart, a judge occasionally, and for this particular season, I have been your host. From the very first episode to the last, we've been able to have engaging debates with different universities, different perspectives, and definitely different situations when it comes to debates. It's been a culminating of events where we had the grand finale happening last week. And we told you, because we love suspense, you're not going to know who gets to win the trophy and who gets to be runners-up. We'll still further that delay for a bit because we'd like you who is joining us for the very first time, or to all our loyal viewers, to have a recap for what has happened in the grand finale. I think the recap then will determine whether you think proposition or opposition has won this round. If you're yet to engage with us on X at KTN Home with the hashtag Campus Debates, feel free to let us know, even while the recap is ongoing, whether you think Strathmore University or Kenyatta University has been able to win your hearts and definitely the trophy for Campus Debates Season 2. With that, I will welcome the recap to happen for you to catch up with us and get to know what happened in the debate of the grand finale.
The reason why His Excellency, the former president, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, was viewed as one of the people who was the most visionary leader who asserted and brought Kenya to the developmental phase is because one of his largest contributions to the citizenry that is the Republic of Kenya at this point in time is the economic infrastructure and the construction of proper and sound economic systems that exist within status quo. The reason why this guy here called John Mwendwa is going to go home to KU without a trophy is because of three reasons. Firstly, prioritization looks like a couple of things from proposition. Social engineering, it's a capital-intensive affair that is more than towards an outcome that is about improving what is the most proximate thing to Kenyans. Mwindi, I know you're hungry. You've not eaten since yesterday. If you're talking about political reform and that kind of protection that exists within that system, we would prioritize a government or a system, an economic structure that would then be able to put food in your stomach, even if it's just chapo beans, because we know you've not had this for a long period of time. We would then seek to dispel this particular notion from these guys that this then looks like active deprioritization of political progression. This is simply because it is only profitable and it is only impactful. This political advancement is only profitable, meaningful, and impactful insofar as we can have this off of the bedrock of an economic revolution that exists within the country that is the Republic of Kenya. But I think even secondly, panel, this debate is incredibly outcome heavy. That means that opposition cannot merely assert things like the fire for change and, we want to create that progression and change the things that are, like corruption and be able to create structures and systems. They can't merely just say this. They must do the legwork to prove why these things are A, possible, but even secondly, in the best interest of the government of Kenya to do so. Nika, do you know the government of Kenya? You probably don't know your area MCA, but I can tell you now your area MCA is suffering. He's harming you directly because you probably don't get access to infrastructure. Your street probably looks horrible. Why? Because garbage collection and that kind of thing isn't something that these people prioritize. Matano, you're jobless. This then looks like we must prioritize a state that is interested in the self-protecting mechanism of improving people's individual capacity to improve their own livelihoods.
Something interesting that Jeff's case is all about is he comes and tells you, you know what, Matano, you're jobless, Muindi, you don't have food to eat. So necessarily, once they have this economic development, you will stop sleeping hungry and all these of things. He sells you a utopia that all will necessarily be well. We don't think so. He doesn't tell us how. He necessarily just comes and fiats all of these things, and that's why they are going home. We think, panel, what does necessarily focusing on economic development and prioritizing economic development necessarily looks like? One, it looks like privatization of public sectors. This looks like the Kenyan government necessarily selling things like JKIA to Adani and all these sort of things. It looks like increasing taxes. We already have things like fuel levy, increasing the fuel levy, increasing taxes even on things like pads and all these sort of things. But it also looks like increasing things like college tuition and all these sort of things. But three, it also looks like you necessarily go to the extent of even borrowing loans from from either domestically, from the banks domestically. This necessarily means that people don't have money. People cannot borrow money because the government has already borrowed money. But beyond that, it already means that you necessarily go outside the country and borrow from things like the IMF or the World Bank or something of the sort. We think this is necessarily harmful to the people of Kenya, and necessarily you won't have the job he is talking about, and Muindi will not eat the food he's talking about. But how does political reforms look like? One, we think political reforms in the Kenyan context right now necessarily looks like impeaching people like the deputy president who is Rigathi Gachagua. It necessarily looks like impeaching the Cleophas Malala, the former UDA Secretary General. But it also looks like implementing these judicial reforms. This looks like the judicial reforms that were implemented. These look like corruption, which ensured that corruption cases are done within 6 months. But B, it looks like compensating victims of protests. This looks like if George necessarily goes to the streets and is beaten, he necessarily is not going to be charged, but his charges will be dropped and necessarily he will be compensated. We think that's necessarily important. But it also looks like stopping government officials from doing business with the government to avoid conflict of interest. Notice, two things Jeff tells you is A, you know what, you need economic development and all this sort of thing. He paints you, but what he does not know is that one, the richest people in Kenya are politicians. So at a point in time, you're even privatizing these things. It's not necessarily that Fanya Mambo is the one who is going to buy Adani. We'll have the richest people who are politicians going to buy these shares. They benefit, you don't benefit. You will always prioritize these things, economy on paper, things like GDP, which necessarily you calculate with the richest person, you divide by the lowest person. I don't do economics, but at least I know that it will be something of the sort.
So panel, impeaching Gachagua is not the priority of Kenyans. This is because people are struggling due to the lack of money. You can't be able to go to hospitals. You cannot be able to take your children to school. As you've been told, Kiragu hasn't probably eaten because of the same issues. We think this in and of itself is bad, but it's perpetuated, and it's something which is likely to continue in the vast majority of instances, especially because of the lack of predictable pricing due to things like dependency on global networks in and of itself, means that things like global inflation, political instability, and currency devaluations of things like the dollar are always going to affect us. What we then think in the vast majority of instances is that people live lives without dignity, and it's worse because most people, as Jeff characterizes to you, cannot be able to have the guarantee that they will see tomorrow in and of itself. The worst thing about this debate is that it happens to tens of millions of Kenyans. It's not one person we are talking about, but millions of individuals are facing this scope of harm in and of itself. If the government of Kenya's incentive in this instance is re-election, then they need to prioritize individuals in this instance being able to access the level of income that they need to get from only our side. No one cares about Gachagua to the extent where they have food on their table and that sort of thing. But what you must understand about these guys is that they're out because they don't have any case, and I'm going to take everything they say, dismantle it. Even if they backload, it becomes very uncharitable for us to be able to engage within the debate. The only thing they say is that they characterize that, on our side we have Adani, high taxation and borrowed loans and that sort of thing. 6 responses to this. Firstly, they don't listen to Jeff's characterization. You can't literally come and create your own mechanism as to how economic prioritization would look, and then you credit them for that. You cannot be able to credit them for any of those things they mentioned, because Jeff is very specific in terms of the fiscal policies, monetary policies, and the capital raising he's talking about on our side. They create their own motion, they characterize it. You cannot be buying that from them. But the second thing is their responses are contingent on that bad characterization in and of itself. For example, they say as a result of these things like high taxation, you're going to get backlash. No, listen to me. Backlash comes as a result of people necessarily feeling that the government necessarily does not want to, give them economic emancipation and empowerment in and of itself. To the extent where you've been starving for years, that's the reason why you're going to the street. And that's why you didn't have rich individuals storming in the street, especially because they have things to eat. To the extent where you're able to give poor people this, we think that backlash ceases on their side, or like on our side. On their side, it still continues, especially because you've chosen to focus on things like Gachagua and that sort of thing. The third thing they say is that we are going to take so many loans. Listen, we've already taken loans now. now, it means we have to find a way to be able to pay those loans. They have no mechanism of being able to pay those loans. In the very least, they say, oh, we'll impeach Gachagua. In the very least, we say economic development is the fastest route to be able to pay this. But the second response under this is literally, these guys, and this is why these guys lose out. The concession within the debate is that Kenyans are poor. They have to defend what mechanism they have to raise capital on their end. Because if they say, fine, we take loans, we are ready to bite the bullet, what mechanism do they have? Because to the extent where people don't have money, they equally cannot be able to do all those things they say. They could resort to high taxation. Literally, you have backlash happening worse on their side. We think it's very, very symmetric. You cannot be able to buy that in that regard.
Proposition side is a broke man trying to woo a girl by telling her how he will take her to China, buy her Louis Vuitton, buy her all the new perfumes in the world, but they are broke. Probably the phone they are using, they borrowed from their sister, and they don't have the capacity to do that. That is what proposition is. Proposition has a lot of good impacts, a lot of good harms. Oh, people are unemployed. Oh, people need work. Oh, people need money, and all of these issues. Nice. We think we could agree people need work and all of these issues. Their problem, and it's the logical gap in their case, they never prove capacity. That is their biggest flaw in their case. What is the capacity to do this? Because Shamia doesn't understand the case that comes from Emmanuel. Because the framing that comes from Emmanuel is to point out a very simple fact. They won't be able to do this because they realize the government of Kenya already tried to do this. And when they tried to do this, they said, oh, Kenya is facing a lot of inflation. Oh, we are facing a lot of debt burden. For us to develop, we need to come up with finance bill and tax women pads and tax technology and tax all of these things. And you guys rioted and you made your president to drop that finance bill. The framing from Emmanuel is to say, you will need to borrow loans. You will need to increase taxation for you to do this because this is an expensive venture to do. You will need to all of these things Emmanuel tells you. The reality is you will face backlash, people will protest, people will die, and at the end of the day, you will do what Ruto did and you will take away the finance bill like he did. You will not have the money to do this, which means again, the broke man cannot take the girl to China like they promised. They lack the capacity to do this. The comparative here is all of their benefits cannot be achieved in simple terms. The comparative here is the idea of political reforms. One, they say this takes a long time. Literally, it took us 3 days to impeach Gachagua in the National Parliament. In another 3 days, he will probably be impeached in the Senate. It's very fast. Secondly, it took Ruto 2 weeks to do the whole idea of judicial reform, where he said Gen Z protesters will be compensated and their charges will be dropped and corruption cases should take no more than 6 months. This is a very easy process. It doesn't take a long time. That is a lie from them. So we say then, this is the best thing for the government of Kenya to do, especially in regards to the idea of elections, because realize the only thing they say in regards to our case is, oh, you will get ethnic tension. Then what? They never impact this. I'm unclear. Then what is the impact from this? But beyond that, we say the idea here is, one, this is the easiest thing for the government of Kenya to do, especially if you want, I'll take in a moment, especially if you want to be re-elected, because one, you don't harm the Kenyan citizens. We can agree the Kenyan situation is bad. The advantage from opposition is we don't make it worse. That is the advantage, because in their side they say it's bad but they make it worse. So as a government of Kenya, you don't make the situation worse. That is an advantage for you as a government. Secondly, we say that this does not take a lot of time to do, like we already said. But beyond that is that you can be able to show the change you did. Ruto can go to the people and say, I instituted a bill that makes sure government officials cannot trade with government because that is a conflict of interest, so that corruption cannot reoccur. This is a big deal for Kenyans. All of you seeing every day about corruption. What this means is he can go back to the people and say, this is what I did for you. In the comparative is building just 2 years remaining. The comparative is building a road which you will never complete, which you cannot go back to the masses and say, I built this. Probably the next guy gets to build it and take all the credit and say, I'm the guy that did this, I'm the guy that took the girl to China, not the other guy. You think this is bad for this government?
Amazing arguments, I might say, from both the proposition and opposition. Again, the motion is whether the government of Kenya should prioritize economic development or political reforms. I think the arguments were very engaging, especially from the speakers that we had from the grand finale. I don't know whether you resonate with this motion, it being a finals motion and it touching what we are currently going through as a community and even as a country. We'll be going on a short commercial break, and when we are back, maybe, just for choosing to hang on with us on this final episode of Campus Debate Season 2. For this second segment, we'll be able to have a conversation with amazing people on the panel who'll be able to discuss with us the importance of debates, one, and two, having these conversations about what happens within society, especially from the perspectives of young people. But before we start, I would like to invite Fanya Mambo to express his comments as per what happened in the final round where we had Strathmore University debating against Kenyatta University.
Thank you very much. A good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Strathmore University. Congratulations to the Kenyatta University. You guys did well. I was watching, and at some point I felt like I want to be part of this. I want to go in because this is what I do. This is life. This is good. There are many things I noticed. I don't want to talk about those because we have judges, but maybe add-ons. The first thing is the role of emotional intelligence in debates. Are you emotionally intelligent? I'll give you a very simple example. Last week, I work in mediation. I run a mediation firm. And last week, I remember a lady came and she was going through mentorship through my hands. And she saw a young couple. And the couple was having differences. The guy was 33, the lady was 30, and they have 2 children. And when they walked in, the way I know her as a banker, I thought she would introduce herself that way. But she changed. She's 56. She told them, I am a mother, I am a grandmother, and I am a mother-in-law. I look at you, and I have grandchildren who are the age of your children. And I immediately saw these people change their focus. They didn't even want me to mediate their dispute. They wanted her to become the mediator because she said she's a mother, she's a mother-in-law, and she's even a grandmother. And then we get into another case with her because I was mentoring her into mediation. And when she went into that one, she didn't introduce herself that way. It was a banking dispute. She said, hey, look here. I have worked in the corporate sector for 30 years. I retired at the age of 55. I know what happens in corporate spaces. And I could see now the people were beginning, because it was an employment dispute, they were beginning to turn. For all of us here to make good debaters, you need to be able to read the room. You need to be able to walk in and tell, what kind of introduction of myself do I give here? What kind of demeanor do I bring into this room? What tone am I going to use? What posture am I going to have? How am I going to blend in with these people? And that's why when I was told, hey, it's a youth event, we have university students, I would have chosen a suit and tie on a Saturday. It's awkward. I'm in jeans. Read the mood. That's emotional intelligence. Know what is required of you when you come to a debate. Bring into a debate an aura of a person who understands what emotional intelligence is. Be a person who comes, and based on the circumstances of what you see, you don't come with a joke you collected from somewhere on the internet. You come with a joke that is relevant to the audience before you. So into every debate you're ever going to go into, come with emotional intelligence. Come, try to connect with the people who are with you. And whatever you say will be suitable for that audience. There are sometimes people say and you're like, good one, but wrong audience, okay? So emotional intelligence. Secondly, the energy. I mean, sometimes I have listened to you and I'm extremely happy about how you project your voice, how you speak and what you say. What keeps a plane in the air, it's the amount of energy it leaves the ground with. Some of us come into a nice debate and then, oh, now my name is, I am looking. the topic before me. What are you doing? Shut up. If you can't bring in the right energy into a debate, shut up. Because you are killing the debate, you are killing the oomph, you are killing the audience, you are making the place. People don't want to listen to you because you are bringing the wrong energy into the right space. So if you had your problems at home, leave them at home. If you had issues with whoever, forget it. When you come into the debating space, you must bring in the energy that will make people get attracted to you, the energy that make people want to listen to you for hours on end. So please, whatever you do, when you go into a debating space, whether you're from KU or you're from Strathmore University, bring in the right energy, bring in some positivity. Don't bring negative energy into any debate. Now,
I think a few of these things are very important for us to understand, especially when it comes to engaging people in public speaking and everything in general. So even while we are on the subject of talking about debates generally, I just want to ask the panel, what would you think is the most important thing when it comes to debates and engaging the political, social, and economic sphere of the state? Why are debates very important for having such conversations?
Okay, thank you. And debates are important for those conversations. I'll tell you, I'm one of those persons who was a target because we brought down finance bill. If, conversations about finance bill, you couldn't remove the name Fanyamambo. Those debates are the ones that led people to start saying, wait, and they read it, and they started making TikTok videos about finance bill. The quantum of knowledge that was with people about finance bill by the time we were coming to the demos, it was too much. It had gotten to boiling point. So debates on national TV about topical issues are very important because they are the starting point of any meaningful engagement. The reason people went to the streets is because they understood what they were fighting for. So what you are doing here, what this debating contest is doing here, is raising national issues and putting them in a context that will make people start saying, wait a minute, oh, this is happening in our society, or this is affecting us. And that's how they begin to take action and bring about change. But as I draw to a close, allow me to say one thing. As we make our debates generally, especially on like today's debate, try also to look at your points as solutions. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. Rarely do we hear debaters coming up with a suggestion of a solution. I was speaking on TV the other day and I said, if the government, people think about huge economic debates and things that you want to do, build a road, build a railway. No, sometimes you can come into a debate and introduce something small. I said, if the government tomorrow came up with a policy and said that every school-going child must take an egg, just one egg per day, and it is by law, na hatutaki kujua mayai itatoka wapi, do you know what would happen? First, we have 10 million school-going children. You would need 10 million eggs per day. That's a revolution in the poultry farm. You would need at least 15 million birds to lay those eggs. You would need so many canters to carry those, that unga, the unga feeds for those chicken. So there will be a transport revolution. They would consume a lot of diesel to be able to carry that animal feeds. When you think about saying that every child must take an egg a day, it means producing 10 million eggs a day. That's a revolution in agriculture. It would affect the veterinary doctors, it would affect so many things. How much does it cost? Kila mzazi atoe 10 bob by force. What is the net effect? Every child will be healthier. Then after 1 month, you come and say every child must take a fruit. I don't care whether it's half a melon or it's an apple, or it will bring a revolution in the fruit industry in this country, and transport for that matter, and so many things. So as you come up with your debates, try to think of something in the line of economics or politics that becomes a suggestion that people can take home. So people will not say it was an academic debate, but they will think, wait a minute, this is a practical solution. Thank you.
Yes, and I think for the only female we have on the panel, I think it's very important for us to understand, even when we're talking about finding solutions in while having debates, what would you think is the best way, especially why do you think we're focusing on young people, especially in this segment of campus debates, for us to have these conversations? And do you think young people are capacitated to figure out solutions to these problems?
I think the cliche argument here on young people are the leaders of tomorrow. I think young people are actually the leaders of today, and in that regard, it's very, very important and very crucial that we have them in these discussions. They are able to actively critique what is happening within the political space, how to better the economy, and that sort of chat. I think that's very, very important that young people are integrated into these conversations, because that leads to a lot of benefits for the young people. Largely, a lot of the people within the space of Kenya and most African countries are young people. If we are able to benefit and integrate them and make them feel like they're part of these conversations, it's likely that they are going to have the incentive to make change, to want to be the people who fuel how governments work and how like the economic development in the space is going to be propagated. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think a while back, someone would have said that young people are apathetic, meaning they don't care about the political space. But I think the finance protests proved separately. But even from our last panel speaker, just a question to you. You were able to be part of an organization called Debate Association of Kenya, which I think is the spirit behind us having campus debates in the first place. Why do you think you chose to have a platform on TV to actively express these discussions and conversations?
Okay, thank you so much. I think, first of all, the Debate Association of Kenya is just the embodiment of what goes on throughout the day. I think when you walk through town, you find bunge la wananchis. When you get into a matatu, there's discussions. When you walk through schools, there's all of this that is going on. Like Fanyamambo says, these discussions are things that go on. So under Debate Association of Kenya, we're just a body of young students or students in the universities within Kenya who come together and discuss various issues that affect us, that affect the people, that affect the generations to come. So even in the space of campus debates that we've been able to have, we've had topical issues or discussions on specific motions regarding political issues, motions regarding governance, motions regarding climate change and environmental action. You could say campus debates has been the public participation on zero budget, where we've been able to talk about all of these issues. Like Fanyamambo has also said that, you know what, this space requires people who have the energy, and that is what we tap into in the youth. We tap into the youth in the universities. They have the energy, they have relevant material on these issues. They can access it through Google, they can access it through social media, they can teach others, they can talk about it, and we can then create change. I think that is the best thing that has been able to happen through Debate Association of Kenya with campus debates. Thank you.
I think something important that you've been able to mention is the fact that these discussions happen everywhere. So debates is not just about being an elite speaker and you debating within these tournaments. I think even as we are parting short, the question I would generally ask is, why do you think debate is valued so much, especially in the society we live in today?
It's an opportunity to reason together. Other than win and say, I won in that debate, it's an opportunity to listen to one another. Because sometimes I ask myself, if I was thinking the same way as you, then why would I ask you the question and you'll give me the same answer? So we have different heads carrying different brains and different opinions, and each of them is valid. Of course, sometimes we have what we call the wisdom of fools. You know, sometimes if you put 10 fools in a room, there'll be one of them who will say something really wise, and then it's the wisdom of fools. But either way, when we give each other an opportunity to hear one another, we usually come up with something that ends up being constructive.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
I think my response in terms of how debate is valid or why it's valid is going to be on two fronts. The first one is on how it's able to critique. It's not some random talk you have. You're able to actively critique something that someone says, and I think that's a good thing because it makes you look at things from different perspectives, and it makes you like become more nuanced, more knowledgeable. But the second idea here is that it pushes you to see things from someone else's perspective that you would otherwise not see. So like in debates, you don't choose which side you want to defend. At that point, you're able to actively get into a space where you would not ideally have gotten into that space, or you'd not like defend that particular person from that perspective. So if you're told to defend like a woman who's not eaten and, you know, stuff like that in a very arid country and stuff like that, you're able to actively get into their feelings, get into their emotions, see things from how they see, and just try to be able to reason from that perspective. I think that's a good thing because of how you're able to necessarily get to understand people's problem and to offer solutions for them.
A main signature for a debater is that every time they're told to respond to something, they only say 2 responses to that, but that's a joke for another time. the final?
One response to that is that why debate is valid is because just like any other sport, when you play rugby, when you play football, when you play hockey, when you play tennis, there's an objective towards everything. So with debate, we use that freedom of speech. We don't abuse freedom of speech. We use freedom of speech and we empower it to the sense that everybody has an opinion about something. So now this is the time for you to harmonize these discussions to come into points or to come into solutions that can then impact how you as a person see that thing in regard, or how as a community you take that thing in regard. Or even when you have these discussions on TV, and I want to believe the government watches or people who advise the government watches, you get to learn policies from this young perspective. So in campus debates, even with the chief adjudication panel that has been setting this motion, shout out so much to Brian Muindi, Perez Mwono, Kiragu Kimani, Farisa Machemba, and myself. When we were sitting down to set these motions, we used to look at everything going on in the country, be it TikTok, be it talk shows, be it radio shows. So we took it as a daily job to learn more about the problems we go through and how we can bring them into a debate motion. We give it to the debaters and they do magic with it. They present what is happening. The people at home also see that this is something that is happening and are able to learn from that. So this is just to say that if you think debate is not valid, then surely we should say that you should not walk away from you should not wake up from your bed each and every morning, because that is the one thing that you do every morning. You wake up and you go into the day. That is the same thing with debate. You wake up, you find a problem. You're hungry. You don't have water. You don't have electricity. All of these things. You can't shout at them, or you can't shout at alone in your house. So this is the platform you get. Even if you're going to the matatu, even if you're going to a talk show, even if you're going to the people's baraza in school, in class, this is where you direct that issue. This is where you find solutions to that. Yes.
Funny thing about the last speaker, he said 1 point and said 6 of them within that 1 point. I think that's very interesting. So in summary, I think we've been able to understand the different reasons why we amplify debates, why we use debates, first of all, as a platform to engage the youth, or even secondly, to just engage everyone within society to understand the different problems we go through, the possible solutions to these problems, and even generally just to create an awareness for people who don't even know that these problems exist. So campus debates has been very enlightening for us to understand the different problems on a global perspective, but also to understand how university students best cater to these problems that exist, how proximate they are, and how solutions are very near to us, even as everyone gets to watch. So you at home, you have the capacity to change things that exist within society, but at the same time, we welcome you and invite you to participate in debates, because they generally just help improve your capacity to understand a lot of things and to just become a better person in general. That has been our segment for tonight. We've been able to understand and get to hear nuggets from our amazing panel. I will allow them to just say their names, and with that, we will be done with the segment.
Thank you. I am Fanya Mambo Kinuthia and happy to be here.
Nika Twain, happy to be here.
My name is Wycliffe Otieno. I'm a son, I'm a brother, the Executive Director, Debate Association of Kenya. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for choosing to hang on with us. We'll be back after the short break with the announcement you've been waiting for ever since we started this episode. The announcement for who gets to carry the trophy home. Is it Strathmore University, or is Hello everyone, and thank you so much for choosing to bear with us for the 2 previous segments we were able to have for this grand finals and the award ceremony this evening. I think it's pretty sad for me as your host to notice that this is going to be the last episode of season 2, but hopefully we will catch each other for season 3. Without further ado, I want to start the award ceremony by appreciating the most amazing universities within this entire campus debate season 2. With that, I would like to appreciate Kenya School of Law. Following closely, St. Paul's University. And the most important person, the University of Nairobi. Following closely is Pioneer International University. And for the finalists, I would like to appreciate Kenyatta University. And finally, Strathmore University. I think you have been able to recognize that the teams that we have on finals are equally the teams that were determined as the best universities when it came to Campus Debate Season 2. You're eager, you're hungry to know who has won and who has lost. With that, I welcome our amazing chief adjudicator for this round to announce the results.
Thank you. It's been an honor listening to the speeches. And before I do so, I'd like to say this. The only way to the top of a palm tree is to climb. And having said that, and with the motion reading, this House, as the government of Kenya, would prioritize economic development over political reforms required, the debaters to help us understand from which side, as an actor motion, which of the arguments you're presenting best serve the interest of the actor, in this case, who is the government of Kenya. And on a unanimous call with the adjudication team, drum rolls, please. We arrived at the decision of the debate being won from the proposition.
Well, 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 you have heard it from the judges themselves. For the grand final and for Campus Debate Season 2, the runners-up for Campus Debate Season 2 goes to Kenyatta University. Kenyatta University, something special about them is that, like I mentioned, they were part of the people who won the Kenya University's Debate Championship edition of 2023. But at the same time, they were able to make to semi-finals at the East Africa University Debate Championship. And even at the 2024 edition of Kenya University's Debate Championship, Kenyatta University was able to make it to the out rounds and actually break among the top teams in the tab. With that, I think it suffices to say that Kenyatta University has one of the best speakers in the entire country, but at the same time, the best university that has to offer when it comes to debates. I will welcome them for a few minutes just to tell us something about how they felt the finals was and how the season in general has been for them.
Hello guys. Promised my people I won't cry in case I lose, so I'll hold the tears for later. But anyway, thank you to, I think, the Debate Association of Kenya, DAC, for hosting campus debates and giving us this opportunity, aided here by Wycliffe. Thank you secondly to KTN for giving us this opportunity, young people, to come and express their opinion and their minds. Thank you to all the people that came, debaters, judges, Mercy here, the having to change outfits this many times is not easy, But anyway, I think the season was good. Okay, so people who are on top of debate usually say debate is fun, so and it's unfair to the people on bottom. But I think it was good in that we interacted, we were able to share ideas, we were able to be on TV. You can use this to flex on your grandsons and daughters in the future. tell them you are an important person. So I think the season was amazing. Hopefully we have more seasons, and hopefully they are bigger and better, and hopefully we win the next ones. Congratulations to Strathmore as well.
Thank you so much. Personally, I was looking forward to win the finals, but as it goes, I haven't won. But it's fine because beating Jeff and Shamia is an accolade in itself. But I think I will have to find a way to beat them. But it's also fine. I really liked debating on KTN. It has been an awesome experience, and I look forward to participating more in such debates and public speaking colloquiums.
Just before we let you go, Emmanuel, how has your experience been on campus debates?
Okay, of course it's on TV. At first you come panicked, but then with time, as you go on, you get used to it, and it becomes good, even expressing your opinions, feeling that many people are watching you and basically people are listening to you. It becomes important. At least you feel like you're not just a pawn in this Kenya, but you feel like someone who is prominent in itself.
Finally, before we get to the winners, I think I would like a summary, especially for something you would tell Kenyatta University, because you're their representatives right now. What would you tell the debate society at Kenyatta University? But even what would you advise the people who are joining the debate society? Very briefly.
What I will say? Okay, this is hard. Many things to say. Probably, and this is not just Kenyatta University, but to every debate society in Kenya, we have to work harder. We have to improve, because these guys can keep winning every trophy. I think all tournaments we have had in Kenya except one, Strathmore has won all trophies. So this will make you angry, agitated. Yeah. So work hard and compete with these guys. Yeah.
Again, congratulations to Kenyatta University for being able to emerge as runners-up for Campus Debate Season 2. Now, we would like to award the winners, the champions, the people who get to take the trophy home, and the people who are able to send the runners-up home as per their speeches. Help me appreciate Strathmore University for winning Campus Debates Season 2 Grand Finals. Fun fact about the team that has just won, just like you've heard from side opposition and Kenyatta University, the team has been winning tournaments back to back. I think previously Jeff was able to win East Africa University's debate championship. The partnership as a whole was able to win Olympia debates that happens in Uganda. Shamia was able to win Mashujaa tournament. And I think if I was to start naming all the tournaments they've won, we'd spend an entire night here. With that, I think we'd love to appreciate and get to hear from Strathmore University. I know sometimes you get to assume that if someone has won, it's been easy. So I would like to introduce them to just tell us something about their experience, how it has been so far for them, but generally how they feel about winning on TV, especially.
All right, so the first thing I would say is thank you so much to everyone. I think Campus Debates has been one of the amazing revelations to the Kenyan Debate Society. And so thank you so much to everyone who has been part of this dream, a very young dream, but that it has come to fruition because of all of us collectively. Amazing stuff. We feel really amazing just to win it, and I hope the spirit goes on. But the second thing really is, I think this is my final year debating, so it does feel amazing to, just end the season in this sense. And I don't know, justice has a way of, and the fate itself has a way of, just trying to reparate you for all the losses we've had, back then, and all those things. So I feel so amazed just to be here, to have won it. And I think what I would say is that the circuit has so much to offer. We have very many brilliant minds, young debaters who are out there, and this is the opportunity that all of you need to be able to shine and, just take the, spotlight and that sort of thing. Congratulations to Mwendwa and, Emmanuel. I think Mwendwa is one of the most brilliant debaters in the country as at now. So congratulations. I'm very, very happy to have worked with Mwendwa and everything. My partner here, it's been an amazing journey, and I think the final thing I would say is just believe and never be afraid to dream. This is debate, and everyone can make it to the top.
Yeah, speaking after Shame is very difficult. We do it only in debates. In real life, you try and avoid charismatic people. So I think for me, my experience has been humbling. And that's the first thing that I'd say. I'd like to thank God for, TV at first instance and being able to be here. I think for me, the experience has been really, really good all the way. I think I was at campus debates at inception, like from when this short started, right from season 1. Actually, I was on the first episode of campus debates. So it's very good to hear that, and to see the progression and the growth and all of that kind of thing. I would also like to ask parents at home watching this particular show to keep supporting their kids. I've enjoyed the support of my folks, my siblings, my close friends, my normal debate partner in absentia, my close friends in the debate circuit, and the people who've contributed to getting here. I think this is a function of collective effort, right? Particular support and props to Strathmore Debate Society right now. They're a function, we are a product of that system. The great work that was done by them. UN as well, I work a lot with them and the entire team and the system that is working there. So I appreciate the growth of debate. Dark, dude, without Wycliffe, guys, we'd not be on TV. And lastly, I just want to tell people, just take that shot, right? Shoot your shot. I think it's important in life to shoot your shot. Yeah.
Parting shot from Side Proposition and the winners of Campus Debate Season 2. Shoot that shot. With that, it's been lovely, it's been fun to get to host this tournament and to get to host this season of Campus Debate Season 2. Hopefully, we'll get to see each other in Season 3. But in the meantime, you can marinate on the amazing nature of debates and the amazing, engaging arguments that you've been